Jarrad, how are you, mate?
I'm really well, thanks, Justin. I'm really good.
Awesome. So, mate, I just want to have a chat to you because I know you've had some significant changes in the last couple of years.
Yep.
Talk to us a bit about what were you doing a couple of years ago before we even met?
Look, before we even met, I was just existing. I was just getting on with things, going from day to day, not planning, and basically running literally hour by hour. Wake up, find out what I had to do for the day, and go out and do it.
Yeah, great. And you had a pretty successful little business though, right? Like things were ticking along. You didn't need to, you weren't struggling or anything.
No, not at all. I actually thought everything was great. Home life was brilliant. Work life was great. Successful at what I was doing in the renewable industry. I felt complete.
Yeah, good. And then you came and did the course. What happened during the course?
Yeah, I did. So it was about this time last year, Justin, we had the sales training course. It was actually a period for me where I found I was losing a little bit of satisfaction with what I was doing day to day with work. As a result of that, instead of blaming others, I thought I would take some action to work on myself. So I went out to that course with yourself for a bit of personal development, which is probably the 3-day period where you left me wanting more.
Yeah, good. That was great. So then you came out and did the practitioner course purely for personal development.
That's right. Yeah. So for me, having already had that mindset where I thought I was content and everything was great, one of the conversations that we had just as a follow-up from the sales training course was, a suggestion you made as far as the NLP practitioner course. A lot of the people that attended that course, I believe, had that intention of getting active into coaching and setting up a business that way. For me, I really saw the value first and foremost in an investment in myself, purely for personal development. If I could be at a position where I was feeling great and then walk away feeling even greater, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. So during the course, what changed for you during the course from moving from the personal development side of it into what happened next?
Look, I think, as you know, with me, Justin, it takes a lot of time for the penny to hit the ground as it's dropped. So, look, for the first 7 days, I missed the first day because my kids are priority, so they had a basketball tournament on. I picked up with the rest of my group on day 2. So I was probably on the back foot a little bit and, wondering why these people were, had these wide open eyes and these expressions on their faces. For me, it was great. Look, the number one thing that I picked up was my limiting beliefs. I was, in my own mindset, completely great, but there were also things that were pulling me back, which were resulting in my procrastination, delaying, stalling, doing whatever I had to do to try and avoid addressing some of these issues that I just simply ignored, hence making life so much greater.
So you're already doing a lot of stuff with junior athletes as a president of the Bunbury Football Club. Yep. And then, so tell me how some of the tools and techniques helped out some of those kids.
So what was really interesting is when I came out of that practitioner course, I thought I would just spend the 2019 football season probably working on some of the elements that I had learnt. So, and just trialling it. So I'm a visual learner. If I can see the processes working, and Justin, what was amazing for me is I just saw myself for 6 years in a coaching arena, having just been the dad that was available on a weekday and a weekend to coach kids. This year, after completing my practitioner course, I truly felt like I was a coach. I could see my kids being more engaged, responding to some of the techniques that I didn't even realise I was doing, but just giving them the belief and the security and comfort to test themselves and grow in their own right. And that was 40 kids, which I was able to make a positive impact on. It felt great.
Yeah, it's good. And then so you called me up a few months after the practitioner course. We can't repeat what you said. But you'd obviously been challenged to make some changes, and you made some significant ones.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, yeah, back to the goldfish bowl moment. Yeah, I do recall that conversation. Look, it was great. So, December last year, I was looking for what was missing in my, I guess, professional environment. I felt like I made some really positive changes. When we had that conversation, I probably walked around with a lot more awareness of what was going on. I may have dropped a few words that were the best way to explain myself at the time. But yeah, look, I realised that I had given everything I had to give within my current employment, and was very comfortable with being able to take some action. The way that I got into the business was contacting the CEO of the company and said, I've chosen you guys, do your due diligence on me, tell me when we're ready to go. Except this time I did the exact thing in reverse. What's going on? I'm here to fix it if you're engaged in it. If I'm not included in your plans, it's time for us to part ways and move on. It was really empowering.
So you've gone from essentially a business that was an employment arrangement somewhat to now being a full-time consultant?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah, so following the traditions of my family, Dad within his workplace had worked at the same place for 30, 40 odd years. I thought that's what we had to do. Since then, I took some time out. I'm very family orientated, so for me, I spent a number of weeks at the house, working within the home, supporting my wife and the kids. That for me was, again, incredibly empowering. Got a little lost along the way, wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. Actually applied for a job and was so grateful to have come a very close second to it. To where I am now, I'm still doing some consulting work. I've just come back from South Korea, flew into Sydney and did a day's work with another firm, assisting them.
Did you think you would have been doing this 12 months ago?
No way. No way at all. I had a very fixed mindset. When you're moving from day to day, you don't think outside of where you are standing. I actually didn't appreciate or value my knowledge within my area of expertise, within the renewable industry. I also didn't value my skill set and motivation to help our kids through coaching as well. So I might be stealing or jumping ahead of things. For me, I can see myself moving forward in a coaching role, and far more specifically in a coaching role, because I owe it to these kids to give them the support that they need, or that they're not aware of. So, that's to coaches, to the athletes or the players, even at grassroots level, even to the point of supporting parents with their kids.
Yeah, so, being in a role like that from a role, was that even something that had crossed your mind?
Never. Justin, when I entered the realms of a football club, I don't have a background in football, which I'm quite comfortable to talk about. So I had this belief, even from my footballing days, that my background ended with the Augusta Margaret River Hawks under-10s. I left football with that belief that I was a kid that was either sitting on the bench for half a game, playing forward pocket, or back pocket, whichever way the wind was blowing the other direction of. I found out 12 months ago that wasn't actually the case. I'd been poached by my hockey coach, who was also my Year 6 teacher, to play hockey. But my style of coaching and the supportive role I've taken within grassroots sports has been not to coach the sport, but to coach the individual.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important as well, like working with the individual and what's motivating them, what's holding them back, what are their belief systems. So what about the tools and the techniques and being able to use them in groups of kids? Are they effective? Are they easy to use? Like if someone comes and does this 7-day course, are they going to be able to duplicate your results?
Oh, Justin, absolutely. So I guess the one limiting belief I'm still probably carrying with me now is that I may not be good enough or the right guy to coach. So throughout, I've just been simply applying the principles and the knowledge that I have. And then when I sit back and actually think about that particular event or moment, I'm realising that it links back to quite a number of the techniques that we learnt during the practitioner course.
Awesome. And so what about family? You got a young couple of kids?
Yeah.
Cooper's coming to a challenging age. Like he's going from almost that boy to adulthood. Really, he's going through that change. So how have the tools helped you with that?
Look, that's a really cool one. Probably one I get a bit emotional about. The relationship I have with my kids has never been better. We get to those moments with teenagers where you're always going to end up with conflict and issues within the house. What's been amazing for my relationship with my son is we can see those events, we can see it occurring, we can even get to the point where we raise our voices and have a stern disagreement with one another. And then we're also at that point where instead of continuing on, we basically are aware enough to be able to stop and walk away. And the most magical thing with that is when the moments pass and the emotions dropped, we can sit there and talk about what just happened. I've learned a lot about my parenting skills from that regards, as well as the opportunity to kind of have those teachable moments where not only am I assisting my 14-year-old son, he's also teaching me a lot as well. I used to be so quick to anger once upon a time, and I think now he just rolls his eyes and goes, oh my God, he's coaching me again now at the house.
So how have you found those tools and techniques? Like, what's the difference it's made do you think, in Cooper's behaviour? Because he's at that teenage years where he's starting to challenge, and that's natural. How have you found the difference in his behaviour using the tools and techniques at home?
Look, it's been incredible, Justin. So with the Inspired Teens event that you ran, Cooper, like a lot of the kids that attended there, was told by his parents that he was attending. So having that choice taken away from them, there was already that resistance, like they were being sent to school, especially being school holidays and 2 days towards the end of their break, which was time away from their mates. One of the things that I think is the greatest gift I can have given my child is at the end of that 2-day event, we spoke about it a day or two after, and Cooper actually said it was one of the best things that he'd ever done. It gave him the chance to take on board the messages that were being delivered and the support that was being provided in that, safe, secure environment, a respected environment, and gave him the chance to reflect and think about where he is at and what he wants out of it. So, look, it's to answer your question directly, the techniques, the training, the experience that I've had in the last 12 months, it's like a superpower for me, being able to read a situation and adapt and look at it from another's eyes. I would have to say, and I only had this conversation previous this week, this has been the best 12-month period I've ever had. This is the best year, the best last 12 months I've ever had in my life, just about. So, it's been significant for me, Justin.
So what's the next 12 months going to look like then?
Who knows? There's a lot going on. I will definitely be... I owe it not only to myself, but to a lot of the kids out there in the southwest to provide support for them. There's a lot of kids out there playing sports, grassroots, elites level, that they're struggling. They're struggling with their direction, where they belong, anxiety, stress, all of these feelings and emotions that our kids are experiencing. It could be from home, from school, compiling up, even just within a sports environment. But to be able to give them the tools to adapt and build that resilience, I owe it to, I guess, our kids to continue to develop that.
Mate, that's awesome. Thanks very much for your time.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
No worries. So if you're like Jarrad and you're working a support role and you want to help kids to have a better experience in either sport or some other kind of way, maybe it's you're a scout leader or someone who wants to see kids succeed, then maybe this is the course for you. Book a call with us now and have a chat.